Bayangkan betapa sepinya suasana saat para mualaf di negara minoritas muslim melakukan syahadat. Terkadang mereka hanya ditemani oleh 1-2 orang teman, namun tak jarang mereka bersyahadat sendirian.
Artinya apa selamat Lebaran, Fer.
Iya, hari ini lu sampai
Jawabannya apa? Thank you ya?
Iya, bisa. Thank you.
Gak apa-apa, thank you.
Iya, sama-sama.
Oh, sama-sama.
Iya.
Dan orang yang mu'alaf memang dari dulunya hati sudah cinta dengan Islam, cuma nunggu orang yang ngajak. Ini jangan-jangan nonton konten kita ngobrol ini ada 1.000 orang login mungkin. Ya. Dia ternyata ngakuan Bang Hotman, dia lebih sering ke masjid daripada ke gereja.
Celebrated as the trustworthy, he was known for his truthfulness and moral character, leading others with honesty and fairness.
Wow, my mind is blown. What do you got?
Fenomena mu'alaf terus berkembang, baik di Indonesia maupun di luar negeri.
Misalnya, yang dialami oleh wanita Inggris keturunan Hong Kong ini. Ia hanya ditemani oleh seorang temannya ketika bersyahadat.
Masya Allah.
Di Indonesia, sejumlah tokoh seperti Ustadz Dery Sulaiman dan Ustadz Felix Siauw telah menjadi inspirasi bagi banyak mu'alaf dengan dakwah mereka. Ustadz Dery, mantan musisi, memilih jalan hijrah dan aktif membimbing para mu'alaf.
Benarkah Hotman Paris akan masuk Islam? Ustadz Dery Sulaiman mengungkap bahwa Hotman rajin berkurban dan dekat dengan tokoh Islam. Bahkan mendapat gelar Gus. Hotman juga berencana membangun masjid. Apakah ini tanda ia segera mu'alaf?
Nah, balik lagi ke Bobon nih. Gimana dia tiba-tiba menawarkan diri untuk syahadat?
Jadi Anda lagi nyembelih kambing, dia mau sembelih, dia kan non muslim, nggak boleh nyembelih. Kita nggak boleh memakan sembelihan non muslim kan? Terus sana nyeletuk, Bobon sejak kapan Islam? Dia bilang, saya masih nunggu hidayah dari Allah. Terserah Allah aja. Kalau hari ini pun di Islam kan siapa yang bisa tolak? Dia ngomong gitu, naik kuping Anda, Anda langsung tangan dia. Kalau begitu ya sekarang aja asyhadu Allah diikuti dengan lantang. Orang bingung semua. Keramai itu Bang lagi motong kambing. 10 ekor kambing kita potong. Memang waktu itu kita mau bagi makan orang takjil, orang berbuka. Ada ajaran berwudu, masuk masjid. Saya bersaksi dari Tuhan selain Allah. Tidak ada sedikit pun rekayasa di dalam proses Islam ya Bobon. Dan orang yang mu'alaf memang dari dulunya hati sudah cinta dengan Islam, cuma nunggu orang yang ngajak. Ini jangan-jangan nonton konten kita ngobrol ini ada 1.000 orang login mungkin.
Mudah-mudahan kita doain.
Dan sebentar lagi Bang akan menyusul orang-orang besar lain masuk Islam.
Sebutin
banyak Bang. Hotman Paris setiap tahun ngantar sapi ke masjid saya. Setiap tahun hidayah. Dia ternyata ngakuan Bang Hotman, dia lebih sering ke masjid daripada ke gereja.
Ustadz Felix yang sebelumnya beragama Katolik, kini dikenal sebagai pendakwah produktif yang menyampaikan Islam dengan pendekatan rasional. Di luar negeri, nama Lily J, mantan aktivis feminis Australia, mencuat setelah memeluk Islam dan aktif menyuarakan nilai-nilai Islam dalam perspektif Barat.
Oh, I love these ones so much. So, Prophet Muhammad predicted at the end of times that everyone will be obsessed with luxury, vanity, and competing, building tall buildings. How could someone in the middle of the desert 1400 years ago even comprehend the idea of skyscrapers and modern-day cities? This is just insane.
Nabi Muhammad SAW dianugerahi begitu banyak mukjizat oleh Allah sebagai bukti kenabiannya. Tidak hanya di zamannya, sebagian mukjizat tersebut bahkan tetap terbukti kebenarannya hingga hari ini. Hal ini semakin menguatkan keyakinan kita bahwa ajaran Islam adalah kebenaran yang mutlak. Salah satu orang yang menyoroti mukjizat-mukjizat ini adalah Lily J, yang dengan semangatnya menyampaikan kepada dunia tentang keajaiban yang dimiliki oleh Nabi Muhammad SAW.
Did you know that Prophet Muhammad performed hundreds of miracles the same as Jesus and Moses did? When I started searching this topic, I could not believe how many miracles he's performed. Like, I'm actually in shock right now. Why don't Muslims talk about this more? I will get into that at the end of the video. But for now, this is my top 10 favorite miracles of Prophet Muhammad. Let me know in the comments if yours are the same as mine. Let's go. Number 10. Prophet Muhammad could speak to animals. He spoke to sheep, he spoke to camels, wolves, dogs, even ants. But one of my favorite stories is in the cave. During the migration to Medina, Prophet Muhammad was running away from his enemy, the Quraysh, who wanted to try and kill him and stop the spread of Islam. And he hid inside a cave. This is the incredible part. Listen to this. So a spider spun a web in front of the cave's entrance, and a bird made a nest just outside the front. So when the enemy arrived and saw the cave, they saw the spiderweb and the nest, and they thought it impossible that Prophet Muhammad could be inside because the spiderweb looked so old and the nest looked like it'd been there for ages. This flimsy little spiderweb saved the Prophet's life. This story not only shows Prophet Muhammad's special relationship with animals, but it also shows how God can protect you beyond your wildest imagination, from where you least expect it. Now next, number 9, the miracle of multiplying food. One day, a bag of food was brought to the Prophet, and it was a very small portion of food. But the Prophet prayed over the food and told everyone to eat. And the food just kept replenishing itself. Everyone ate and there was still plenty left over. Aisha says that she swore by God that if they had continued eating, the food would never have finished until the Day of Judgment. What? This is just one instance of the many found in the Hadith where Prophet Muhammad made miracles by multiplying food and feeding everyone, especially during battle and war, where small portions of food and water he prayed over and it fed the whole army. This is just incredible. Number 8 is one of my favorites. So this is prophecies about future events. There is so many. For instance, the Battle of Badr, where the Muslims were completely outnumbered in this battle and they won victoriously, fulfilling the prophecy. He predicted the conquest of Mecca. He also predicted the fall of the Persian Empire to the Romans. But what's crazy about this prediction is he predicted this just after the Romans had lost to the Persians, and the Romans were very weak, outnumbered, and it seemed impossible at the time that the Romans could defeat the Persians. Now, what's really interesting about this particular prophecy is that he put a time limit on it of a few years. So if it didn't happen, that's the end of his prophecy. That's a really, really risky move to do. So this is just proof that Prophet Muhammad is inspired by God. Also, just before we move on to the next point, I just wanted to also mention one more prediction prophecy that I absolutely love. So Prophet Muhammad, during his lifetime, predicted something that happens hundreds of years later. Like, this is just incredible. So he predicted the fall of Constantinople to the Muslims, aka modern Turkey, and I'm currently here right now, so it's really interesting to see the history of this country. Now, at the time, this prediction would have sounded completely impossible. Think about it. Prophet Muhammad was basically in the desert, in the middle of like sand and mountains and rocks, in a tiny little village, and he's saying that Islam is going to take over the biggest empire in the world, an empire that has unlimited military, massive walls, protection, very, very rich empire. So it's just crazy to think that that would happen. I actually got to witness some of the ruins of this war, and they were massive. These walls that the Ottoman Empire broke through are massive, and there's 3 layers of walls that they got through to get in. It's just honestly incredible how they did this. Now, number 7 is the end of time prophecies. Oh, I love these ones so much. So Prophet Muhammad predicted at the end of times that everyone will be obsessed with luxury, vanity, and competing, building tall buildings. How could someone in the middle of the desert 1400 years ago even comprehend the idea of skyscrapers and modern day cities? This is just insane. He also said that men will act and dress like women, and women will act and dress like men. The hour will not come until adultery and fornication will be widespread and practiced openly. This is exactly what's happening right now. People will appear naked while still wearing clothes, and everyone will be unashamed of their nakedness. This is just so scary. Like, look at Kanye West the other week with his wife at the red carpet. She's literally naked but wearing this tiny little piece of material. Like, how can a man 1400 years ago predict something this crazy? Like, it's just unimaginable to think that people will be openly dressed naked in public. At the time of the Prophet, women weren't even allowed out of the house without being fully covered. And if anything, if you didn't wear a headscarf back in these days, it was shameful. You were considered a slave if you weren't wearing a head covering. So to even think of taking the head covering off was crazy, let alone being naked in public. Another thing he predicted is acts of sodomy, which is same-sex relationships, will be just openly done and will not be seen as a sin. This is happening right now. Like, you can legally get married to the same sex. Is this the end of times, guys? There is one more that is my absolute favorite end of times prediction. Listen to this. When you see Mecca, it's mountains with holes. Its buildings will reach the mountaintops, and the hour will cast its shadow over Mecca. So the first part, the mountains with holes. They've literally pierced holes through the mountain for cars to go through. How could someone 1400 years ago even understand this, let alone know what a car is? Buildings will reach the mountaintop. The kind of modern day cities and skyscrapers we have today were just unimaginable back then. And some of the tallest buildings in the world are in Mecca right now. This kind of building in the desert, like, are you serious? How could he know this? Now, the last part of this hadith is where it gets crazy. The hour will cast its shadow over Mecca. What would you even think this means? But look at Mecca right now. What is the tallest building there? What's at the top of this building? A clock. The time, the hour, will cast its shadow when the tall building is casting its shadow over Mecca. I'm just speechless. Are we close to the end of times? I honestly feel like it. Number 6, splitting of the moon. So it is narrated that non-believers approached the Prophet and asked him to perform a miracle to prove his prophethood. So he split the moon. This particular miracle was for his enemies. They may not have believed him. They may have denied his prophethood and said that his sorcery and his magic had reached the moon. But they never said it didn't happen. Plus, if you actually look at modern day photos of the moon, there's a crack. It's actually incredible. There is a full-on crack on the moon. It's just crazy. Number 5, the miracle of water flowing from Prophet Muhammad's fingers. So many people had witnessed and documented this. On several occasions when there was very little water, Prophet Muhammad would place his hands into a bowl and he would pray over them, and miraculously water would start to come out of his fingertips. So this happened on several occasions, especially when there was very little water. There was hundreds upon hundreds of eyewitnesses and documentation of these events. And this is documentation from some of the most trustworthy people of the time. And this water wasn't enough for everybody. This is just such a beautiful, beautiful miracle. Number 4, Prophet Muhammad could talk to trees, plants, and even stones. Again, there is so many hadiths about this. There was a stone that every day Prophet Muhammad would pass by and say Salaam Alaikum to. Even the Sahaba heard the stone talking to him. There was trees. So when Prophet Muhammad did sermons, he would lean on some of the trees and they would be upset if he didn't lean on them. But my absolute favorite happens on a mountain. So one day Prophet Muhammad is with 3 other people on a mountain and the mountain started to shake. And then Prophet Muhammad said, "Be firm, O Uhud," the name of the mountain, "for upon you is a prophet, a truthful one, and 2 martyrs." Martyrs are people who died in battle for Islam. After he says this, the mountain immediately stops shaking. That's just incredible. But on top of this, what he said about the people is another prophecy, because it's true. 2 of those people that were on the mountain with him became martyrs. So not only did he communicate with the mountain, but he also predicted that 2 people would die martyrs. This is just incredible. Number 3, the miracle of bringing rain in the drought. Now this one is one of my absolute favorites. There was a massive drought and rain hadn't fallen for ages. And the people came to Prophet Muhammad and asked him for rain. And Prophet Muhammad started to pray to God and the rain immediately began to fall. They couldn't believe it. And it fell so heavy, like so heavy, the people were afraid that it was going to flood. So the people came back to Prophet Muhammad and said, "Please, can you get the rain to stop?" So he prayed again to God, and again, completely stopped immediately. This is just incredible. The people were absolutely amazed, and they were just in awe of the mercy of God. Now on to number 2. Prophet Muhammad could heal the sick. He healed so many people in the name of God. He healed the blind, he healed the sick, he healed the injured. But this one is my absolute absolute favorite. So one day they were at battle and a man came to Prophet Muhammad and his eye had fallen out of its socket. So Prophet Muhammad went up to him, placed the eye gently back into the socket and got his spit and rubbed it over the eye. He made a prayer and all of a sudden the man could see. And according to some stories, apparently the man said that he could see better out of that eye compared to his other eye after all this happened. Like, this is just incredible. Again, there were so many witnesses to this to testify to it. I am just gobsmacked. This is just incredible. Why does no one talk about this? Now, last but not least, my absolute favorite miracle of Prophet Muhammad is, drum roll please, the living eternal miracle, the Quran. Prophet Muhammad, he couldn't read, he couldn't write, and somehow he's produced this book, 77,000 words, and memorized it over years of time. How is that possible? Its miraculous linguistic nature is just unparalleled. Its divine speech and profound wisdom just surpasses any other miracle. The Quran stands as the greatest miracle ever. If I go into all the miracles of the Quran now, we will literally be here for hours. So I will just briefly mention my favorites. But if you guys do want a more in-depth version of this, please let me know in the comments and I can make another video explaining all the miracles of the Quran. I just think it's absolutely incredible that for 1400 years, not one single word has been changed. God literally said that he will protect the Quran, and it's happened. We know for a fact that the Quran is the exact same as what it was when it was revealed to Prophet Muhammad. We've got original scriptures that are carbon dated back to the time of the Prophet. We've got the Sana manuscript, we've got the Topkapi manuscript, the Birmingham manuscript. It's all there and it's all exactly the same. It's just incredible. And on top of that, it's been memorized by billions of people throughout the years. Like, it's just impossible to change the Quran. I was actually praying in the mosque the other day and the Imam made a mistake in the prayer and people straight away called it out and knew the difference and knew there was a mistake. So it's just impossible for the Quran to be changed at all. It's an exact match to what the Prophet Muhammad revealed 1400 years ago. Oh, and just one more thing that I absolutely love about the Quran is in chapter 223, the Quran actually challenges the disbelievers to produce something similar to the Quran, even just one verse, and they can't. The unbelievers at the time actually chose to go to war than to do this simple task. This just proves that it's the word of God. If anyone could come up to this task, they would, and that would be the end of Islam. Not even ChatGPT today can replicate even one verse of the Quran. Just wow. And one more thing is the Quran, like when I read it, it feels like it's speaking to me. It feels like it's a modern day book. It doesn't feel like it's outdated, that it was written 1400 years ago. So it's just amazing that the Quran was able to continually be refreshed and renewed and be able to be understood no matter what time you live in. So why are Muslims gatekeeping all these miracles of Prophet Muhammad? But I do kind of think I know why they've done this. Because the answer, I believe, lies in the last miracle, the Quran. I personally feel like Muslims don't speak about the miracles of Prophet Muhammad because they don't want that to dilute the main message of Islam, which is the Quran and God's word. The main message is the oneness of God and what our personal responsibilities is during our lifetime and our test. So if people put more emphasis on this rather than that, I feel like that would dilute the whole objective of Islam. So while Prophet Muhammad's miracles are absolutely insane, I just feel like they shouldn't be the main focus of Islam. But yeah, anyways, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I learned so much making this video, so thank you so much for tuning in and I'll see you guys next time. What do you guys think?
Masya Allah, betapa sangat bersemangat Lily J dalam menyampaikan kepada dunia tentang mukjizat ini.
Sebagai pendakwah produktif yang menyampaikan Islam dengan pendekatan rasional. Di luar negeri, nama Lily J, mantan aktivis feminis Australia, mencuat setelah memeluk Islam dan aktif menyuarakan nilai-nilai Islam dalam perspektif Barat. Tren serupa juga terlihat dengan meningkatnya jumlah muallaf di Eropa dan Amerika, meski mereka kerap menghadapi tantangan sosial dan Islamofobia. Dalam perkembangan terbaru, Hotman Paris, pengacara ternama di Indonesia, dikabarkan menunjukkan ketertarikan terhadap Islam. Jika benar-benar menjadi muallaf, hal ini berpotensi mendorong lebih banyak orang untuk tertarik mendalami Islam. Bahkan, dengan tren digitalisasi, bisa saja ke depan terdapat 1.000 muallaf yang dapat memproses konversi agama mereka secara mandiri melalui platform online atau komunitas muallaf. Dengan semakin luasnya dakwah Islam di berbagai belahan dunia, serta dukungan komunitas bagi muallaf, fenomena perpindahan agama ini diprediksi akan terus meningkat, baik secara personal maupun melalui gerakan sosial yang lebih besar.
Inspiratif.